In the dense mist-heavy woodlands of Rowan County, Kentucky, sits a stretch of land that most locals refuse to talk about. On no map and no deed registry, and with no official infrastructure, the land is marked only by whisper and warning, referred to by some as the square that kills time. It is here that in October of 2003, the Maldin family, William, Grace, and their 3 children, vanished without a trace. No wreckage, no struggle, only a story so strange, so unnerving, that it was sealed into an FBI file now known as Case 103-RO. The case was reclassified as inactive in 2014, but what you're about to hear will prove that it is far from over. William Maldin, a freelance structural engineer, had told his brother over the phone that he found a dream home, a 2-story colonial house tucked deep in the Kentucky forest, far from traffic, neighbors, and the noise of the world. He bought it through a private seller, a man whose name has never been traced. The seller used a P.O. box out of Cincinnati and a disconnected burner phone. The contract was printed on faded typewriter paper. No digital record of the sale exists. But the Maldins packed up their belongings, pulled their kids out of school, and made the move on October 16, 2003. The family was last seen on October 18th at a gas station in Moorhead, Kentucky. Surveillance footage captured William buying 4 gallons of milk, 6 flashlights, packs of batteries, and candles. Grace stood outside the car visibly distressed. One of the kids, Miles, could be seen in the backseat whispering something to his younger sister. That was the last public record of the family. 2 days later, a neighbor living 5 miles east of Clearbrook Trail called 911 to report the sound of screaming in the woods. Not animals, not wind, human screams. Officers were dispatched but found nothing. They checked the area the neighbor described, but saw no structures, no trespassers, and no evidence of habitation. The officer's dashcam recorded a quiet, empty forest. But here's where the case shifts from missing persons to something far darker. When William's brother reported them missing 5 days later, the sheriff's department finally pulled the property information from the moving forms. When they hiked out to the listed coordinates, they didn't find a house. They found a perfectly square plot of scorched earth. No ruins, no beams, no ash. Just dead soil and 6 burned footprints in a staggered pattern, like a family was walking forward and then mid-stride ceased to exist. The prints were crisp, preserved, as if the earth had been sealed by heat. And then came the VHS tape. A week later, a plain manila envelope arrived at the Rowan County Sheriff's Department. No return address, no postage. It had been placed on the front desk sometime overnight. Security footage from the building's lone camera was static during the time window it arrived. Inside the envelope was a VHS tape labeled House Walkthrough. What played next was 13 minutes of unbroken handheld footage. A person, breathing heavily, walks through the colonial-style house. Room by room, the floorboards creak, but the house appears untouched. Furniture covered in white cloth, walls slightly pulsing under the low light. You hear a deep, low hum, subsonic, constant. At the 10-minute mark, the camera moves to a hallway with 3 doors. One of them opens slowly, on its own. Then comes the final minute, perhaps the most disturbing. The camera enters a room with a large mirror. The person filming walks up to it. The reflection shows the room behind them, but not the person holding the camera. The screen cuts to black. Forensics teams analyze the footage. There were reversed voices embedded under the hum. Audio experts from the University of Louisville reversed, isolated, and enhanced the whispers. They all said the same phrase, repeated 3 times. We belong to it now. As investigators scrambled to make sense of the footage, another piece of the puzzle surfaced. The land where the house stood, technically known as Plot 42B, was already flagged decades earlier as unstable territory. A 1961 U.S. Geological Survey classified the land as unsuitable for development due to unexplained subsurface vibration patterns, but internal records, uncovered years later through FOIA, revealed the real reason. An archaeological team of 4 vanished there while exploring a native Adena burial mound. One of the researchers' final journal entries read, "We broke through a barrier. Beneath the mound, it breathed." None of them were ever seen again. Locals began to report strange phenomena surrounding the area. Between 2004 and 2017, at least 11 separate groups, hikers, ghost hunters, curious locals, claimed to see the house appear, always at night, always without warning. 3 of these groups tried to enter. Only 4 individuals returned. All of them suffered from hallucinations, severe dehydration, and had no memory of what happened inside. One survivor, Isaac Langley, was found 6 miles from the site, walking barefoot on Highway 60, covered in mud, and muttering, "It's always inside, the house is inside now." He later had to be institutionalized. In 2018, researchers from the University of Cincinnati took interest in the case. They compiled GPS coordinates from all 11 house sighting reports over the years and mapped them out. The results stunned them. Each location formed a perfect rotating hexagon, a mathematically impossible phenomenon unless the house was either being deconstructed and rebuilt at each location in secret, or, as the lead physicist posited, the structure exists outside traditional spatial reality. It moves like an orbiting mass, appearing where its frequency is matched. They called it the rotating anchor phenomenon. Even more disturbing, the house always appears in late October, always between the 16th and 21st. A common theory arose: what if this was a non-Euclidean structure, a thin place in our reality, a spot where grief, trauma, or longing thins the veil between worlds? Like, share, subscribe for more true horror documentaries based on real events and unexplained disappearances.